It's pretty sweet that we get such frequent patches and updates in Call of Duty. Back in the day, we were lucky to get one patch a month. But sometimes a gun is in desperate need of a nerf, and then the developers, when they finally get around to adjusting it, the patch barely does anything. What is up, everybody? Jimmy or Chaos. Today, we're going to be looking at 10 of the worst nerfs in Call of Duty history. These are the nerfs that were supposed to bring a weapon down to earth, make them a little more balanced, but either barely did anything, or in some cases, they actually made the gun even better on accident. Let me know what you think the worst gun nerf in COD history is. Drop a like on this video. And at number 10, the MSMC in Black Ops 2. That's right, the most popular SMG in Black Ops 2. It was actually the nerfed version. A lot of people forget this nerf even happened because it really didn't do anything, and the MSMC remained the most popular SMG in the game after it went live. Heck, a lot of people still call the MSMC the best SMG in COD history, regardless of the nerfing that Treyarch did. So, what exactly got nerfed? Well, in March of 2013, about 4 months after the game came out, Treyarch pushed out a nerf to the MSMC that slightly reduced the range and increased the recoil. Did you ever notice? Probably not, because hardly anything about the gun actually felt different afterwards. I guess you could sometimes notice the higher recoil, but if it really bothered you, you just threw on a foregrip. And I guess sometimes you would notice the range drop off a little more, but if it really bothered you, you would just throw the long barrel on it. The nerf barely did anything. Definitely didn't hurt its popularity in the community. Definitely one of the worst nerfs in COD history in terms of not nerfing the gun when it was supposed to be nerfed. Before we move on, guys, if you get anything from G2A, consider using code CHAOS. The link is at the top of the description. At number 9, the Striker in Modern Warfare 3 2011. Now, the nerf was definitely more noticeable than the MSMC nerf, but it still didn't take the Striker off the top of the shotgun list in the game. The Modern Warfare 3 Striker was busted when the game came out. I mean, you had insane ammo capacity, very generous one-shot kill range. The reason for this insane power was the fact that every pull of the trigger would spit out 9 shotgun pellets, each of which had pretty insane damage. A little while after the game came out, a patch was released that reduced the number of pellets in each Striker shell from 9 to 6, which theoretically reduced the damage per shot about 33%. Now that sounds like a pretty hefty patch on paper, but in practice, all it really did was make the Striker a 2-shot kill in most scenarios instead of a 1-shot kill. And since the Striker was semi-auto, it could be spammed up to 18 shells at a time. Hardly anybody was bothered by having to fire one extra shot at their enemy. So even though the Striker wasn't getting insta-kills as easily as it was before, it was still by far the best shotgun in the game because it was super easy to use. And if you were close enough to the target, you would still drop them. It doesn't matter. If you were using Steady Aim Pro, it was over. Speaking of spammy shotguns that got pointless nerfs, at number 8, the 205 Brecci in Black Ops 3. This may be the most mentioned gun in the COD history series. I mean, this one might not technically be a nerf, but I'm going to put it here because it's mind-boggling. We all know the Brecci was busted. It was the most hated gun in COD history, and Treyarch never actually nerfed it despite all the outrage from the community, but they did patch the gun at one point in order to prevent modded controllers. So just so we're on the same page, Treyarch was aware of the fact that some people were using modded controllers to make the Brecci shoot faster, and they pushed out a patch in order to put a hard cap on the fire rate and prevent people from shooting faster than it was intended. But they were somehow not aware of the fact that the gun was too good on its own without the modded controllers. I mean, do I have that right? They patched out the modded controller exploit, but they didn't patch the gun. They patched the fire rate cap, but they didn't patch the damage, range, or ammo capacity. Something fishy about that. At number 7, the M8A1 in Black Ops 2. I'm willing to bet some of you didn't even know this gun got nerfed at all because it was a top tier weapon since day one. But yes, the iconic M8A1 from Black Ops 2 actually was nerfed a few weeks into the game's life cycle, specifically because of how good it was with the select fire attachment. Back in the Black Ops 2 days, you could actually turn a burst fire weapon into a fully automatic one with the select fire attachment. The M8A1 was a monster with this enabled. A few weeks after the game launched, Treyarch pushed out a nerf to its 3-shot kill range in order to make it a little bit less effective while using the select fire attachment. And you know what happened? Nothing. People just stopped using the select fire attachment, used it in default burst mode instead. I mean, I guess to be fair, the M8A1 in full auto mode was a bit overpowered because of the insane 3-shot kill range, but I mean, it's not like the gun dropped out of the power rankings. It didn't. It was nerfed and hardly anybody noticed it because it was a fan favorite weapon from start to finish. Again, I'm willing to bet some of you didn't even know the nerf ever happened. That's how pointless it was. At number 6, the XM4 in Black Ops 6. Remember this one? The XM4 is the best gun in Black Ops 6 when the game launched. A lot of people still think it's a top tier weapon. When the game came out, it was completely overpowered because it was versatile, it was easy to use, could shred through enemy players up close, long ranges. Before the launch of Season 1, Treyarch pushed out this little balancing update that adjusted a lot of the ARs, and it was intended to even the playing field a bit by nerfing the headshot multipliers and adjusting the base damage values. This patch supposedly was there to nerf the XM4 a bit, dropping the headshot multiplier, tweaking the base damage values, and all while the headshots were indeed nerfed, the new base damage values were actually better than they were before in terms of shots to kill. So in an attempt to make the XM4 less dominant, the patch actually made it even better for body shots and only slightly worse for headshots. Still dominated Black Ops 6 multiplayer after the patch, and it's only recently started getting a bit more balance with other patches. That first XM4 nerf did nothing. If anything, it may have made the gun better. Speaking of nerfs that did the opposite of what they were supposed to, we now arrive at the top 5. The 725 in Modern Warfare 2019. Who remembers this nerf? If you were playing MW during the launch window, you knew 725 shotgun was broken, could snipe people from across the map stupid distances. Infinity Ward took their sweet time issuing a patch for this thing, and it took them several attempts to actually get it right. But do you remember the first nerf that was released for the 725? Because that nerf was arguably a buff in disguise. The first patch slightly reduced the damage on the 725, but it also made the pellet spread tighter when aiming down the sights, which actually gave it a buff to the one-shot kill range if you were holding down the left trigger. It's not like the damage nerf was enough to make the one-shot kill range any less stupid while hip firing than it was, right? And remember, the 725 could fire twice before reloading anyway. So if your first shot didn't get the insta-kill, you know your second one was. And all the while, you were actually getting better one-shot kill range from longer ranges than you were prior to the nerf. The nerf was so bad that several COD YouTubers were making videos about it, exposing the problems with it, and IW, well, they had to push out a second one a week or two later. At number 4, the bar in Call of Duty World War II. It was nerfed extremely quickly back in the beginning. I believe the first patch for this rifle came out 5 to 6 days after the game came out, but you would be forgiven for not knowing that because it didn't do anything. When COD World War II first launched, the bar was a fast-firing laser beam with an insane 3-shot kill range. The community rallied around each other, immediately told Sledgehammer Games the gun was completely busted, so the team pushed out a patch that reduced the fire rate. That was it. 3-shot kill range, left intact. Accuracy, left intact. It was still the best gun in the game, so even though this was one of the fastest nerfs in COD history in terms of game launch to gun nerf, it didn't do anything because the bar was the best gun in the game both before and after the update went live, despite the fire rate being noticeably reduced. A couple weeks later, after Sledgehammer worked on fixing the servers, the team started pushing out more balancing updates for the bar. It was eventually brought down to a more balanced place, but that first nerf did not touch it at all. All it did was make the best gun in the game slightly slower, but still the best. And speaking of rifles made by Sledgehammer, at number 3. The BAL 27 in Advanced Warfare. A lot of people hated AW solely because of this assault rifle. I don't blame you if you were one of those people. The gun was way too powerful, and the fact that it was a starting AR made matters worse. It was the most annoying gun in the entire game, and Sledgehammer seemingly refused to nerf it, kind of. Believe it or not, the BAL actually was nerfed a couple times throughout Advanced Warfare's life cycle, but nobody remembers that because the nerfs did nothing and definitely didn't go far enough. At launch, the BAL had insane damage profiles, super fast handling, low recoil. By the time all the patches were out, the BAL still had insane damage profiles, still had the super fast handling, but now slightly more recoil. That's all that happened. The recoil was slightly increased. Apparently that's all Sledgehammer thought the BAL needed, and guess what? The recoil was 100% vertical, so it didn't matter. Even if you weren't using a foregrip on the gun, it didn't matter. I'm not sure why Sledgehammer thought this was enough a nerf for such a dominant gun. Maybe they wanted it to be dominant. At number 2, the M16A4 in COD 4. Everybody knows the COD 4 M16 was broken, by far the best gun in the game, and if you go back to GameFAQs forums from 2007, 2008, yeah, we went way back, people were complaining about it back then. But a few months after COD 4 dropped, IW actually issued a nerf to the M16. You know what they did? They reduced the damage while using a suppressor. That's it. Or at least I think that's all that happened. It's actually hard to tell what the M16 nerf did because it was so small, and since there were so few people actually testing this stuff in 2007, it's hard to find specific numbers about what happened. But everyone who played COD 4 back in the day remembers there was an M16 nerf at some point. We all remember it was pointless. The nerf was so tiny that some people actually didn't even think it was real at all, and it was just a placebo effect born out of a rumor spread around various forums. So tell me down in the comments, do you think the COD 4 M16 was ever nerfed? I mean, we all know that the nerf didn't go nearly far enough because it remained the best gun in the game. I'm going to put it at number 2 because of the lack of concrete information about it, but if you ask an old school COD 4 player about the M16 nerf, chances are they remember it happening, but they definitely remember it not doing anything. And at number 1 today, the FAMAS in Black Ops. Has to be the worst nerf in COD history because it genuinely didn't do anything to the gun's reputation, nor did it keep the gun from being entirely dominant in multiplayer. FAMAS was the best gun in the original Black Ops. We all know that. The absurd time to kill, both up close, max range. It would outshoot SMGs at close range. Only needed 4 bullets to kill across the map. That was stupid. When Black Ops first dropped, the FAMAS had very low recoil. That's a big deal. So after a while, Treyarch decided to do something about it. And here's what they did. They increased the recoil a little bit. That's it. The FAMAS went from having very low recoil to having moderate and entirely vertical recoil that was super easy to control. I don't know why so many guns in COD history have been nerfed by just increasing the recoil instead of actually adjusting the damage values, because if the FAMAS had actually been adjusted in terms of damage or fire rate, this would be a different story. Heck, probably wouldn't be on this list at all. But the FAMAS nerf was so tiny, so pointless, I had to put it at number 1. It was the best gun in the game before the nerf, and it was the best gun in the game after the nerf. It's the best gun in the game to this day. If that doesn't describe a bad nerf, I don't know what does. Let me know one gun that got nerfed, it was terrible, that we did not mention, and I'll see you guys soon.